What is up, everybody? It is JT Sports. I'm back to you guys with another video. In this video, I'm here with my NFC North 2021 NFL draft grades. I'm doing my draft grades for all 32 NFL teams, division by division. If you guys haven't seen my NFL draft grades for the previous divisions, make sure that you guys click the playlist up above. It'll take you to those. So, before I get into it, make sure that you guys, if you haven't already, that you guys like the channel and subscribe because, listen, I upload some of the best off-season content that you will find on YouTube. I cover all 32 NFL teams. I go in-depth, team by team, breaking down their positions, you know, what to expect from new head coaches, new offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, breakout players. I also talk about college football on this channel as well. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel because you're not going to want to miss the new content that we're going to be uploading over the next couple of months. So the first team I want to start talking about, the Detroit Lions. I think the Detroit Lions had the best draft in the NFL this year. Okay, like Detroit really impressed me with the way they drafted this year. And what's really impressive is you can kind of tell how their new head coach, Dan Campbell, and the new front office wants to build this team. It looks like they're emphasizing making sure that this team is really good up front on both sides of the football. Okay, first you draft Penei Sewell. If you guys watch my first round draft grades, you guys would know that I was ecstatic when they were able to draft Penei Sewell. 7th overall out of Oregon. Now you complete the offensive line. Okay, on top of that, you also add to the defensive line. Okay, you select the defensive tackle out of Washington. I'm not going to try to pronounce his name. Then you also select Aleem McNeil from NC State University. I wanted Pittsburgh to draft them. So Detroit spent their first 3 picks in the trenches. And let me tell you guys something. If you cannot win up front, you're not going to win a lot of football games. I know a lot of you guys get tired of me saying this, but it is the God honest truth. Now, there are several different ways to build your team, okay? Some teams choose to focus on skill position first, then address the defensive line and the offensive line. But teams that normally address the interior, you know, of the offensive line and the defensive line tend to have shorter rebuilds because if you can win up front, then your wide receiver position, your skill positions, they can wait a little bit because if you can win up front, that's going to help out everything. If you have a good offensive line, it's going to give wide receivers more time to get open. If you have a good defensive line, that means below average to average corners aren't going to have to be in coverage for all that long. So if you build your team up front, you're going to be able to be better quickly rather than building your team through skill position players first, which is going to take a little bit, you know, longer to get better. So for Detroit, I really like what they did with their first 3 picks, going the offensive line, then focusing on the defensive line. Then, okay, you draft wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown, the little brother of Equanimeous St. Brown, who plays for the Green Bay Packers. A lot of Lions fans were thinking that they had to take a wide receiver within the first 2 rounds. You didn't really have to because there's so much talent and so much depth coming out of this year's draft class that you could still potentially find you a number 1 caliber wide receiver, and you were able to get St. Brown out of USC. I think he's going to be perfect for that role. He can play outside, but he also can play slot as well. Then you also get linebacker Derek Barnes out of Purdue. You get halfback Jamar Jefferson in the 7th round, who probably is going to just be, you know, like a training camp body. Maybe they see what he can do in the preseason. Hopefully he can get a spot on the Detroit Lions roster. So if I could, I would have given the Detroit Lions an A+++ because I felt like they had the best draft in the NFL this year. I really like what the Lions are building, and I think the Lions are going to be better than what a lot of you guys expect. Now, I don't think the Lions are going to be a playoff team. I'm not saying that, but with how good this offensive line is, I most definitely think that the Detroit Lions will be way better than what a lot of people are giving them credit for, and I strongly doubt that they will have the number 1 overall pick next year. I think this is a team that should at least win 6 to 7 games this year, which I think is pretty good because there are a lot of people that are saying that Detroit Lions probably won't win more than 3 or 4 games. Moving on to the Green Bay Packers. Now, I think the Green Bay Packers had a better draft than what a lot of people are giving them credit for. A lot of people keep saying that they had a bad draft. And for some odd reason, Packers fans think that if they don't take a wide receiver or a skill position in the first 2 rounds, that their draft is just absolutely terrible. Like, I don't understand that. Like, I understand everybody wants to appease Aaron Rodgers. That's all what people think the draft is about when it comes to Green Bay. Getting Aaron Rodgers more weapons, getting Aaron Rodgers this receivers. Aaron Rodgers needs another tight end. Aaron Rodgers needs another wide receiver. What about the other aspects of the area? Okay, like you got to have a defense. You got to have an offensive line. You got to have a run game. So, I mean, like, I just don't understand why Packers fans feel like if you don't address the skill position, if you don't address the wide receiver position or, another tight end or another weapon for Aaron Rodgers, immediately the draft just an automatic, disaster. Like, Green Bay had a really good draft. I'm giving them a B+. You select Eric Stokes with your first pick. I like him a lot. Out of Georgia, I feel like he was one of the best corners in the SEC. Then you select center Josh Myers out of Ohio State. Okay, so now you improve the off the line. You improve the center position because Corey Linsley, who was your starting center last year, left for the LA Chargers in free agency. So now you have to find his replacement. Josh Myers, he could be it. Okay, then you select wide receiver Amari Rodgers out of Clemson. Okay, Amari Rodgers was really underrated. Like, Amari Rodgers doesn't do anything particularly great, but he does a lot of things pretty well. Okay, he's a good route runner. He has very good hands. This guy's just a smooth operator, and he's going to be a really good slot receiver for Green Bay, which is something that the Green Bay Packers have been missing from their offense for over the last couple of years. Okay, you got Devontae Adams on the outside. You got MVS. You got Adam Lazard on the opposite side of Devontae Adams. So all you really needed was a slot receiver. Now you're getting that in Amari Rodgers. You also get offensive tackle Royce Newman out of Ole Miss. Okay, I think he's going to be a little bit of a developmental project, but within 2-3 years, he could become a serviceable offensive tackle. Then you select slating out of the University of Florida, one of the best run-stopping defensive tackles in this draft class. Then you get halfback Kalen Hill, who is going to end up being the third down back for Green Bay if he's able to make the roster because he has pretty good hands. You can utilize him in the passing game as well. So for Green Bay, I felt like they had a pretty solid draft. I'm going to give them a B+. Now, Minnesota had a really good draft. As a matter of fact, their draft was almost as good as the Detroit Lions, but they had way more picks. Okay, first you trade down. You were able to trade down, acquire more picks, and you were still able to come away with the player that you wanted the most, and off the tackle out of Virginia Tech, Christian Darrisaw. Then you also select Kellen Mond, which I really like a lot. I think Kellen Mond, getting him in the next round with their next selection was a really good pickup because now you have a guy who could potentially replace Kirk Cousins within a couple of years or so. Now, Kellen Mond, a lot of people have, split thoughts on Kellen Mond. Some people felt like he was really good at Texas A&M. Some people felt like he was just average at Texas A&M. Me, I'm kind of like in between. Like, I feel like he was just really inconsistent. Like, one game he'll play really well, like against Florida. Then the next game, like against Alabama or something like that, he just wouldn't play all that well. So he's just really inconsistent from a week-to-week basis. You don't really know what you're going to get out of him. But I think Kellen Mond does have the potential to be a very solid starting quarterback in the NFL. I think his ceiling could be like a top 12, top 15 quarterback for the duration of his career if he's able to develop and become a starter. You also get linebacker Chaz Surratt, who is really doesn't really have a lot of experience at the linebacker position because this guy was a converted quarterback. He converted from quarterback to linebacker, so he's still learning the position, but he should get better as he gets more reps in practice, training camp, and he plays in more games. You also get offensive guard Wyatt Davis, which I believe he was one of the best offensive guards in this draft class. I thought he would have went in the second round. Janarius Robinson is going to be a little bit of a mid-round steal that I think could develop into an 8-9 sack pass rusher. Mike Zimmer is really good when it comes to getting the most out of his players that's playing off the edge and playing in the trenches up front. So I think that the Minnesota Vikings had a really good draft. I think they had one of the best drafts in all of the NFL. I'm giving them an A. The last team we got to talk about the Chicago Bears. Now, Chicago Bears, just like the Detroit Lions, had one of the best drafts in all of the NFL as well. I think Detroit should be number 1 and Chicago should be number 2. Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy, they got this draft right. For the first time in a very long time, Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy finally looked like they knew what they were doing. Okay, you trade up for Justin Fields 11th overall. I'm pretty sure no Chicago Bears fans expected Justin Fields to still be on the board at the 11th overall selection. Like, if the Chicago Bears knew that they were going to be able to get Justin Fields all the way dating back to January 11th overall, they probably would have had signed Andy Dalton. Like, I think they signed Andy Dalton because I don't think they were confident in the fact that they would have been able to get one of the better quarterbacks in this draft class. So you trade up, you get Justin Fields. I love that move, okay? Then the second round, you give him an offensive tackle. So now you're building up the offensive line to protect your franchise quarterback, which is something that I'm really impressed with, something the New York Jets also did as well. Then you take another offensive tackle, Larry Baroom, out of Missouri. I really like the first couple of picks that the New York Jets did when it came to protecting Zach Wilson, and the Chicago Bears went in a similar route. They got their quarterback of the future and Justin Fields, and then next up you go and you build up the offensive line for him. Then I think one of the biggest surprises was the fact that Daz Newsome, wide receiver out of UNC, dropped all the way to the 6th round. He was supposed to be like a second, third round guy. So now you have a pretty good group of wide receivers. You got Allen Robinson, you got Darnell Mooney, who was one of the best rookie wide receivers last year. Now you got Daz Newsome. So for the Chicago Bears, you have a pretty good looking wide receiver group. On top of that, you're going to have David Montgomery in the backfield. You're going to add Tevin Jenkins to the offensive line, who should be a day one starter. Chicago had a really good draft. Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy, you have to give them a lot of props for how much success and how well they drafted in this past year's NFL draft. So this is it for my NFC North 2021 NFL draft grades. Let me know what you guys think about it down in the comment section down below. Make sure that you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel for more NFL videos.